Imagine you are trying to build a modest gaming PC, or perhaps upgrade your office server, and you notice the price of RAM has suddenly spiked enough to make your wallet weep real tears. You assume it is a supply chain hiccup, a factory fire, or maybe just bad luck. So you decide to wait a month for prices to cool down. But a month passes, and the price hasn't dropped. In fact, the price of memory is climbing faster than your blood pressure during a market crash. You walk into the store, cash in hand, only to find the shelves bare because a trillion-dollar software company bought every stick of silicon in existence before breakfast. But here is what actually happened. You didn't just lose a bidding war to a crypto miner. You became collateral damage in the new industrial revolution, where memory is the ammunition and you are unarmed. Today we are going to dissect how the AI industry's insatiable hunger for high-bandwidth memory is cannibalizing the global electronics market, and why your next laptop might cost a mortgage payment. It starts with a specific flavor of silicon called high-bandwidth memory, or HBM, which is effectively the caviar of the computing world. In 2024, the HBM market size reached a modest $2.90 billion United States dollars, which sounds manageable until you realize how fast it is moving. This isn't the RAM you put in your dusty Dell tower. This is specialized gear that AI accelerators drink like water. By 2032, this specific niche is expected to balloon to $15.67 billion United States dollars, driven entirely by our obsession with large language models. That represents a compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of 23.63% between 2025 and 2032. Manufacturers are looking at those margins and drooling, realizing they can make way more money selling to Sam Altman than to you. Why would they produce cheap consumer DRAM when the HBM sector is printing money at that velocity? We are witnessing a total pivot in production priority that leaves the average consumer in the dust. The HBM2 segment alone held the largest market share at 50% in 2024. Proving that the industry has already picked its favorite child. It's the classic, original sin of economics, chasing the highest bidder while the rest of the village starves. So while you struggle to open 3 Chrome tabs, the data centers are feasting. We need to talk about who exactly is eating all this pie, because the slice left for the rest of us is looking mighty thin. In 2024, the artificial intelligence application segment held the largest market share, accounting for a massive 40% of the total pie. Think about that. Nearly half of the application-specific demand is coming from machines trying to learn how to paint hands correctly. Meanwhile, the broader semiconductor segment held the largest market share of 60% in 2024, creating a massive tug-of-war for resources. This isn't just about gaming or spreadsheets anymore. It is about an industrial takeover of the supply chain. When one single use case, AI, gobbles up 40% of the priority, the price elasticity for everyone else snaps. You are no longer competing with other consumers. You are competing with entities that have infinite venture capital funding. The market is segregating into AI grade and everything else, and the everything else bin is getting expensive. It creates a caste system of compute where only the wealthy can afford the memory required to be productive. We are seeing a fundamental shift in resource allocation that makes the GPU shortage of 2020 look like a practice run. And the scariest part? That 40% share is just the opening bid. If you think this is a global free-for-all, think again. Because the geography of this crisis is more lopsided than a seesaw with an elephant on it. The Asia-Pacific region dominated the global DRAM market with a staggering share of 45.4% in 2024. They hold the keys to the factory, the silicon, and the shipping containers, effectively controlling the flow of spice. However, North America is expected to dominate the market share on the consumption and AI development side, holding 45% of that specific market in 2024. This creates a terrifying economic tension. The West needs the chips to build the brains, but the East holds the production lines. If supply chains get sticky, or if a boat gets stuck in a canal, that 45.4% production dominance becomes a geopolitical weapon. We are relying on a single region to feed a 26.23% CAGR growth rate projected for the coming decade in Asia-Pacific. It's a supply chain bottleneck that is just begging for a crisis to shatter it. While North America burns cash on development, Asia-Pacific creates the physical reality. It is a fragile marriage of convenience that could divorce at the drop of a tariff. And when that divorce happens, guess who pays the alimony? You do. Let's look at the broader numbers. because the sheer scale of money entering this system is enough to cause hyperinflation in the tech sector. The global DRAM market size was valued at $115.89 billion in 2024, which is already a GDP-sized number, but the projections show it growing from $121.83 billion in 2025 to a staggering $193.97 billion by 2032. That is nearly doubling the amount of cash flowing into memory sticks in under a decade. While the general market grows at a decent clip, the HBM market is poised for a 26.10% CAGR, according to some investor insights. This discrepancy in growth rates creates a vacuum effect. Capital expenditure flows toward the high-growth HBM sectors, leaving standard memory production to languish with lower investment. It is the growth trap. Companies stop innovating on the affordable stuff because the expensive stuff is growing at 26% a year. Why would Samsung or SK Hynix bother with your budget build when the path to $193.97 billion is paved with enterprise contracts? We are walking into a future where budget, electronics, simply cease to exist. The floor price of entry into the digital world is being raised by billions of dollars every year. Hope you like your current phone, because the next one is going to hurt. Technology moves fast, but this AI boom is making your hardware obsolete faster than milk spoils in the sun. We mentioned earlier that the HBM2 segment held 50% of the market in 2024, but that is already old news. By memory type, the HBM3 segment is expected to overtake it rapidly as models get larger and hungrier. This constant churn means that billions of dollars of older HBM2 infrastructure is effectively e-waste before it even depreciates. With the HBM market expanding at a CAGR of 23.63%, the life cycle of hardware is compressing to ridiculous levels. Companies have to buy new hardware every 18 months just to stay relevant in the AI arms race. This forced obsolescence drives up demand perpetually, ensuring prices never have a chance to stabilize. It's a treadmill set to sprint that no one is allowed to get off. Even stocks like Nvidia, the king of this hill, show volatility, dropping -0.54% on random news days because the market is so jittery. The sheer speed of the transition from HBM2 to HBM3 burns capital that could have been used to stabilize the consumer market. We are burning the furniture to keep the AI engine running warm. And you, my friend, are sitting on the furniture. Here is the cruelest joke of all. While the AI memory sector rockets to the moon, the rest of the market is trudging through mud. The overall DRAM market is exhibiting a CAGR of only 6.9% during the forecast period up to 2032. Compare that 6.9% growth for general memory against the 26.23% growth seen in the high-performance sectors. This massive gap tells you exactly where the innovation is dying. The memory you use for gaming, word processing, and browsing is growing at a snail's pace compared to the AI sector. This means supply for general DRAM will likely tighten as fabs convert their lines to the high-margin stuff. A 6.9% growth rate isn't enough to keep up with inflation and rising population demand if production capacity is stolen by HBM. We are looking at a future of stagnation for the consumer, where performance gains flatline while prices creep up. It is the definition of stagflation, localized entirely within your PC case. The rich get smarter, AI, and you get the same RAM stick from 2020 at a higher markup. It's not just unfair, it's bad economics. But hey, at least the chatbot can write a haiku about your poverty. So where does this leave the global economy when we tally up the receipts? We are looking at a total market value projecting toward $193.97 billion by 2032. But the cost distribution is going to be a disaster. The HBM sector, growing from $2.90 billion to $15.67 billion, is not creating value for you. It is creating costs that get passed down. Every service you use, from Netflix to your banking app, will eventually integrate AI and pay these inflated hardware costs. Those companies won't eat the loss. They will raise your subscription fees to cover their shiny new HBM3 clusters. The 23.63% CAGR in memory costs is essentially a tax on the future digital economy. We are building a digital infrastructure that is prohibitively expensive to maintain. If the base cost of remembering data triples, the cost of being a digital citizen triples along with it. This isn't just about PC parts anymore. It's about the cost of doing business in the 21st century. We are inflating a bubble made of silicon and hype, and we are paying for it with the purchasing power of the middle class. The AI revolution is here, and it brought a bill you can't afford to pay. Welcome to the future. It's expensive here. To recap, HBM is cannibalizing the market with 26% growth rates. Asia holds the supply chain hostage, and the 6.9% growth in standard RAM means you are getting left behind. We are heading toward a compute crisis where memory is a luxury good, and the gap between consumer tech and enterprise tech becomes an unbridgeable canyon. If you want to survive the silicon apocalypse without selling a kidney, smash that subscribe button. It's the only thing that's still free.